The Bose Noise Cancelling Headphones 700 are bigger and allegedly better.
But who are these headphones really for? And how do they compare with the reigning champion, the Sony WH-1000 XM3? That's coming right up.
The 700s do not aim to replace the lower-priced QC35-2s. Bose's response is probably driven by the challenge that Sony has been putting up for the last 3 years. And if you're choosing between the two, this video is for you.
And choosing between two devices is what the Bose NCA700 does really well. I had absolutely no problem switching between my laptop and my phone, and just like its predecessor, it works flawlessly. The only other headphones that kind of come close are the Bang & Olufsen H9Is.
Whereas the Sony, in its third generation, still hasn't figured this one out. You can only connect to one device at a time. There is a workaround, however, but it includes splitting your audio and your phone calls. So a super monogamous device. It needs a divorce from the first device to be able to connect to the second one.
And while Bose is seamless while connecting to multiple devices, it's very seamful while connecting to the Bose Music app. Kevin, I'm not quite sure how quality assurance let this slip, but it takes like a million tries to actually connect with the app on the iPhone.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, and how was your experience on Android?
Yeah, not any better. It connected, but I couldn't open the device settings in the app, so useless.
In that regard, Sony is really your best option because the app at least works flawlessly. On top of that, one thing that makes me really Bose is that Bose has the audacity to ask for a Bose ID, a Wi-Fi network, and my location.
They're a pair of Bluetooth headphones. How much information do you need? You know, we were one of the first reviews to point out that the Sony WH-1000 XM3 had touch control problems.
Because we actually take our time to review headphones when we get them.
But we're happy to report that the Bose touch response is much snappier and works as expected. We haven't used them in sub-zero temperatures though, so we're not sure if the Sony problems will resurface. Yeah, we're thorough, but let's push the limits.
Yeah, and other touches are nice too. It has a separate assistant button, so no remapping necessary a la the Sony. And Bose retains its voice prompts, so you know exactly which device you're connected to.
Connecting to Pixel 3.
I also really like the power button. It just has a satisfying click. You press it once, it's on. You press it once, it's on. You press it once, it's on. You press it once, it's off. None of that long press nonsense with the Sony.
Bose is touting its new and improved microphone array, which makes the noise cancelling headphones 700 an overall better headset.
Yeah, it's advertised as being the headphones to talk on, which means when you're talking to either real people
or your girlfriend calls Siri,
they hear you just fine. So what are you using right now?
I'm using the Sony WH-1000 XM3.
Okay, pretty clear. Okay, so which headphones are you using?
I'm currently on a Bose Noise Cancelling Headphones 700. I'm on the bike with the Sony WH-1000 XM3. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. It's the Bose 700. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
But then again, it's not hard to beat the Sonys, right?
That's true.
They've always been lacking in the microphone and voice department.
True, and the Bose also has a feature where you can adjust how much you really hear yourself, so you don't look like you're a crazy person shouting on headphones in the middle of the street.
But if they really wanted to make it the go-to headphones for phones, Bose should have made a dedicated button like the Jabra did on the Elite 85H to mute calls. Conference calls would be such a breeze. Such a dream feature for a fuck mom.
If you're one to be outdoors or on a cycle a lot, then these aren't for you. Sorry, Nederlanders. The Bose 700 struggle in windy conditions like other headphones. However, the Sony offers a wind noise reduction setting similar to the QC35-2. Wearing the 700s while being in the wind and making phone calls or listening to music isn't really fun, since the wind will be whirling through the ear cups. Why the 700 doesn't have this feature makes us wonder if they just forgot, or like we're really dumb and we can't find it.
If you know more about this, leave us a comment down below and make us look even more stupid.
The moment you zip open the case and see the headphones, two things will strike you. One, the headphone is shaped quite futuristically on the outside of the ear cups. Although whether or not you like the design is debatable, it definitely makes you stand out from the rest.
Some say they look sharp.
Like me, and some say they feel sharp.
Like me. That headband edge is sharp, no joke.
2. The headphones are no longer foldable, meaning the overall footprint is larger, which affects its portability. On the flip side, they're easier to put back in the case.
The Sony has quite a standard look and design, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Some like the under-the-radar stealth look. Both headphones are reasonably comfortable. But Rohan, what if you really had to choose?
I think I'd go with the Sony for 2 reasons. One is that the clamping force is a little bit less along the jaw. And secondly, the cushions on the ear cups are somehow nicer on the Sony. I don't know if it's because I've worn them in, but they just feel a bit more comfortable and less warm.
Despite being a new generation of headphones, the battery life and the quick charge numbers aren't as impressive as the Sony's.
But then again, both of these are pretty reasonable. 20 hours for the 700s is nothing to scoff at, unless you travel for a stretch longer than that.
And if you travel for that much, we don't envy you. But a nice touch on the Bose is that it tells you how much battery time is left.
Battery, 10 hours.
Whereas on the Sony, you just get a high, medium, or low.
Okay, and coming to one of the most important aspects of noise cancelling headphones, noise cancelling. Here's a few samples.
Power on. Bluetooth connected.
Battery, 10 hours. Connected to Rohan's MacBook Pro.
I was actually a little disappointed with the Bose 700s because in my opinion, the Sony beats out the Bose. And the Sony is a device which is at the end of its life cycle. It's almost 1 year old. And to think that Bose couldn't beat them, it's a bit embarrassing. The WH-1000 XM3, I think where it beats the Bose is really at the mid-range and upper frequencies. If you really look at the droning engine-like sounds, I think they're both neck and neck.
And let's not forget, the Bose actually take a step back, no more ability to cancel out the wind sound. But it's not all bad about the Bose. If you don't care about the difference in noise cancelling, we actually prefer the conversation mode on the Bose. With the Sony, you can also enable focusing on voice, but it's a little bit of digging about in the app to get to that. The Bose's 3 noise cancelling settings are customizable and they default to full, medium, and no noise cancelling. They can also remember your last noise cancelling setting, which the Sonys don't. And only the middle setting is customizable on the Sony.
Alright, let's get down to brass tacks. The most important thing for many of us is the audio quality from these headphones. Okay, let's start with on paper, the Sony actually have better audio codecs for Android as well as for iPhone and Apple devices. Whereas the Bose just supports SBC and AAC. But the factory tuning on the Sony leaves me feeling a bit disappointed because they are so bass heavy with a lower emphasis on the higher end. Bose actually sounds really good wireless, to be honest. I think it has quite an obvious V shape to it, so the treble can be a bit piercing sometimes. The Bose sound signature underemphasizes mid. So if you're listening to music with a lot of voices in it, I wouldn't necessarily pick the Bose. That's their factory tuning, whereas the mids really shine on the Sony. And overall, I think Sony is a better package, despite that low-end rumble that I'm not a big fan of. But wired is a completely different story. Sony blows away the Bose, in my opinion. I used a Cambridge CX-A60 amp to test, and yeah, the Sony was just miles ahead of the Bose.
So the Sony wired and the Bose wireless?
Sure, if you want to oversimplify it. You add so much nuance in a video and then people just take one line out of it. So keep an eye on the links in the description below for the latest prices. If you use those links, it won't cost you anything extra, but will help out our channel just a little bit.
If you have the money, which I don't, and if you're like me, which I am, then I'd consider the Bose, simply for the phone call quality, all other things considered.
But if you don't have that much money to throw away, which I don't, and you are more interested in the audio quality, noise cancelling, and just the overall package at a lower price, I would consider the Sony WH-1000 XM3.
You've been deciding how much money you have.
And we've been DHRME. Alright guys, so welcome to a new section that we're doing, which is reading our comments. It's a completely original section, not inspired by anybody else on YouTube. If anybody else has been doing this section for a long time, they probably copied it from us, went back in time and started doing this.
Yeah.
So the first comment is from Faizan Ali, or Faizan Ali, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Please make a video that how you grown your thick beard, sir. Please make a video.
Right, the second one's from McLaren, and he or she says, WH-1000X, I hear moaning on my headphones and creep giggling. The f is that?
Yeah, and Aman Nayak says, your haircut only one time.
Yeah, this isn't going anywhere. I don't think this section's working out.
Stay tuned for more innovation from us.